At the peak of Japan's economic power, the land under Tokyo's Imperial Palace was worth more than all the real estate in California combined. That figure comes from the official 1989 land valuations, not from financial media, not from rumor. Top-tier commercial real estate in Tokyo's Ginza district peaked at $139,000 per square foot. Total Japanese land values reached levels that rivaled or exceeded all real estate in the United States. The Nikkei 225 stock index had climbed from 11,543 at the end of 1984 to 38,915 by December 29, 1989, a gain of nearly 240% in 5 years. American analysts had a phrase for where Japan was heading. Japan is number one. A Harvard sociologist named Ezra Vogel had published a book with exactly that title in 1979, predicting Japan would surpass the United States within a generation. None of those predictions were unreasonable. Japan had spent 4 decades earning them. Between 1946 and 1973, Japan's real economy grew at roughly 10% annually. A country bombed to rubble in 1945 became the world's second largest economy before 1970. Japan rebuilt through disciplined industrial policy, export mastery, and relentless investment in manufacturing quality. Toyota, Sony, and Panasonic did not simply enter global markets. They redefined global quality standards. Japan's unique corporate structure bound companies, banks, and suppliers together in long-term relationships called keiretsu, creating extraordinary systemic stability. That stability, in the mid-1980s, became the seed of catastrophe. The 1985 Plaza Accord forced Japan to allow the yen to appreciate sharply against the dollar, making Japanese exports more expensive overnight. The Bank of Japan cut interest rates repeatedly to offset the economic shock, bringing the official discount rate to a historic low of 2.5% by 1987. Cheap money flooded into the asset Japanese culture had trusted for generations: land. Japan's urban commercial land prices roughly tripled between 1985 and 1990. Banks lent freely against land as collateral, and land prices had risen consistently for 4 consecutive decades, so every loan felt safe. Japanese corporations began borrowing not to build factories or develop products, but to purchase more land and more stocks. The term for this practice was Zaitech, financial engineering that replaced real production with speculative asset gains. Golf club memberships in Tokyo sold for $3 million. Artwork by Van Gogh and Renoir sold at Japanese auction for world record prices, purchased by property developers. The entire Japanese economy had become a feedback loop. Rising asset prices justified more borrowing, and more borrowing pushed asset prices higher. Then, on December 29, 1989, the last trading day of the decade, the Nikkei closed at 38,915. The Bank of Japan, alarmed by the speculation, raised interest rates sharply through 1989 and into 1990. Within a single year, the Nikkei had fallen by nearly 39%. Land prices followed and kept falling for the next 15 years. Banks that had lent against land collateral suddenly held loans worth far more than the assets backing them. Japan's financial system was, by any honest accounting, insolvent. And here is where the decisive choice was made, the choice that defined the next 30 years. Japan chose not to force banks to recognize the losses publicly. Regulators allowed banks to keep failed loans on their books at face value, preserving the appearance of solvency. Banks kept lending to companies that could not repay, not to help those companies survive, but to hide the bank's own catastrophic bad debt. Economists at the University of Chicago later named these entities zombie companies, businesses too financially dead to grow, kept alive artificially. By the late 1990s, zombie companies occupied entire sectors of the Japanese economy. New businesses could not compete because zombie firms held on to workers, real estate, and customers while charging below-market prices subsidized by bank forbearance. Productive capital flowed to dead companies instead of innovative ones, and Japan's total factor productivity growth collapsed. Japan was not in a normal recession. Japan was in a trap, and the trap was tightening through a mechanism called deflation. When prices fall consistently, consumers postpone purchases. Why buy a television today when the same product costs less next month? Businesses respond to falling demand by cutting wages and canceling investment. Falling wages reduce consumer spending further, which pushes prices down again, which delays purchases again. Japan's consumer prices fell or stagnated for most of the period between 1995 and 2013. A debt becomes far more crushing when deflation increases the real value of every yen owed. Japan's government responded with massive deficit spending on public infrastructure, bridges, roads, and construction projects across the country. The spending prevented a deeper collapse, but never cured the underlying disease of zombie lending and frozen asset prices. Demographics then deepened the wound in ways no government policy could quickly fix. Japan's working-age population peaked at 87.3 million in 1995 and had fallen to 73.7 million by 2024, a decline of 16%. Fewer workers produce less output, pay fewer taxes, and consume less across every sector. Japan's old age dependency ratio, the number of elderly people for every working-age person, more than doubled, from 21% to 49% between 1995 and 2024. An aging population systematically redirects national spending from investment and growth toward healthcare and pension obligations. In 2012, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe launched Abenomics, an aggressive combination of monetary easing, fiscal stimulus, and structural reform. The Bank of Japan printed money at a scale that made the U.S. Federal Reserve's quantitative easing look moderate. Abenomics improved conditions. Real GDP growth averaged around 1% annually under Abe, compared to near zero before. Corporate governance reforms pushed Japanese companies to become more efficient and shareholder-focused. But Abenomics never fully broke deflation's grip, and the third arrow, genuine structural reform, remained the weakest. Then, on February 22, 2024, the Nikkei 225 closed at 39,098, finally surpassing the 1989 record that had stood for 34 years and 2 months. Serious economists are now asking whether Japan's 2024 rally represents genuine structural recovery, or simply global capital flowing in because a cheap yen made Japanese stocks affordable for foreign investors. Japan's experience is not a historical curiosity filed away in economics textbooks. China today faces a property bubble deflation, a banking system loaded with unacknowledged bad debt, and a demographic contraction economists explicitly compare to Japan's 1990s. South Korea's fertility rate has collapsed even faster than Japan's ever did. Europe's largest economies face aging populations and productivity stagnation that mirror the Japanese pattern in striking ways. The lesson Japan offers the world is not simply don't create bubbles. Every major economy creates bubbles. The United States, Europe, and China have all done so. Japan's lesson is what governments do the morning after the bubble bursts. Avoiding a painful restructuring in the 1990s cost Japan 3 full decades of lost growth, lost wages, and lost potential. That is the choice every economy facing a crisis ultimately has to make. Which country do you think is walking into Japan's economic trap right now? And why? Tell us in the comments below. Subscribe to World Stages, new videos every week on the economic systems shaping the world you live in.